Hello everybody, I am Joel Friesen. We are Silver Arrow Cars, and this car today is probably one of my favorites from the 90s and the 2000s. I love the front engine and the manual transmission and the hood scoop and everything else about these beautiful cars. That it was also significant for the 575 that came later after this car. But specifically this car, this is a 2001 550 Maranello. This is a car that we've known for years and years and years. This is coming out of a collection we placed it in. That's been there for half a decade. And it is finished in a very rare color. So 2002 was the last year of production for the 550 Maranello. 550s only came in a manual transmission, and they built about 3,100 of the cars. After that, then they moved to the 575, and although they'd already been building F1 transmissions and delivering them in cars like the 355, the 550 Maranello up until 2002 did not receive an F1 transmission. That came later in the 575. So the 550, quite significant in that it really was the last generation car that, as a production model, only received that manual transmission. And as we all know, and as we all share that love for manual transmissions in analog and naturally aspirated cars. This car specifically to talk about, and the car we are offering for sale, this is finished in Posy Blue. It is a non-metallic color. It is a very dark blue. Very rare to see Posy Blue finished on any car specifically. Posy Blue is a hard color to come across. And of the 3,100, roughly 3,100 550s that were produced during the production run of these from, I think, 96 to 2002, blue was probably 10% of production or less. And then when you break down all the different blues that they offered, which I think there's about 4 or 5, the amount of cars that would have been finished in Posy Blue is very low indeed. When you get into, and specifically we're talking about a collector car, when you get into talking about cars from the past and collectible cars, color is a big part of it. Collectors these days are looking for unique and standout colors as opposed to the grays and the blacks. Those are always desirable, but people are looking for colors with uniqueness and that really stand out, and Posy Blue certainly is one of those colors. So it's Posy Blue on the exterior. On the interior, there is a dark blue to contrast this exterior color, and that is called Blue Scuro, and that is finished in the lower portion of the car. So upper doors and the dash are Nero leather, that's black leather. And then the rest of the interior is in Blue Scuro, which is a very dark blue, and in low light, kind of like the paint on the exterior, it's gonna show as black. Then when the light hits it and you get some direct sun on it, it's quite clearly blue. Full electric Daytona seats, which is very desirable and very iconic to have those Daytona seats in the front. And then the car was originally optioned with matching luggage that is not with the car today. That does have those Blue Scuro luggage straps in the back and the blue carpeting throughout the car. Just a very well-spec'd car. To speak about that specification, the car was ordered and specified for its first owner, which is a resident of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. The car basically spent the majority of its 2.5 decades in British Columbia. It was sold brand new in Vancouver to that original owner, and it was sold by a salesman by the name of Stuart Coots. He remembers the car as we spoke to him recently, and they ordered it for that first client and delivered it in 2001. So from 2001 all the way up till today, it has been very well serviced. We have a binder full of service history going right back to day one. It does retain all of its original books and manuals and pouch and flashlight. It has its original car cover. It has its tire inflation kit and its tool kit as well. That's all photographed and available to be seen in our photo gallery. So if we open these books up, I've got the warranty book right on the surface here. and we open it to that first page. Sold new by, at the time, the franchise dealer for Ferrari in Vancouver was Brian Jessel Sports Cars. No longer the owner today, but still in the automotive business and a big BMW dealer in Vancouver. It was sold September 21st of 2001 to a Mr. Lin in Vancouver. Signed off by the dealer, the dates and everything properly entered. And it even has the original selling salesman's business card here in the front page. The rest of the books are totally complete in this original leather pouch that does come with the car. Going through the service history on it, as I alluded to a minute ago, we do have that binder, which I'll show you. And that probably has 20 services documented from day one. Now, what I haven't mentioned yet is this car has roughly 22,400 kilometers over the course of its life, documented both through those service documents and in Carfax as well. These are an analog speedometer on these cars with an analog odometer, so that mileage is verified through all those service documents. The service documents start at the original PDI at the dealership and then show everything from touch-ups on wheels, touch-ups on bumpers, replacing of batteries, and most importantly, and the thing to highlight here, is 3 different timing belt services. These cars had a 15,000 mile service increment for belt services. Now today, the expectation is not just 15,000 miles with these collector cars. The suggested time frame is 5 years from a franchise Ferrari dealer, or 15,000 miles. So this car has never even reached 15,000 miles, and it's still received 3 different timing belt services. So that is included in the sale, and we will present that as well. But incredible service history going all the way back and moving all the way through up until today. And most importantly, on today's, or in today, or for fresh for today, is a service that we had performed for the car, and that happened earlier in 2024 when we first brought it back and started thinking about marketing the car. When we performed that service, we sent it to Ferrari Maserati of Vancouver, the same dealer that sold the car originally, and gave them an open checkbook and just said, do anything that you think it needs. So over the course of time, plastics and rubbers and other things degrade. And so we did not everything, but we did a lot. So we did fuel injectors, we did a timing belt service, we did a major service, which would be changing every single fluid in the car, spark plugs, we did valve cover gaskets. We did basically everything there could be to do on one of these cars. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, the service was about $35,000 US. In that service, I will say we did replace the tires as well. So there's some extra costs in there. But the reason I bring that up is that when you're comparing and you're looking at this car and you're comparing the entire market of 550s, some key things that you need to factor into it would be what we already spoke about, is color, condition, of course, mileage. But a big part of that would actually come down to servicing and how well has it been serviced, and really, and an important one, is currently what is its service state and what has been done. A big part of that is, does it have a fresh timing belt service, as if it can't be proven that was done recently. But the other thing would be, was the car gone through tip to tail, and were all the other little things taken care of? And so big check mark for this car, and that is why that service was at the value in which it was. So I think we were $51,000, including the tires and everything else by the time we were done. So the good news is this car has everything done and requires absolutely nothing by the time it gets to you and gets to your garage. So let's get into talking about the exterior condition of the car. So as we go across the front of the hood and using the light from above as a reflection to try and find anything, first thing is I don't see any white marks. I don't see any exposed primer or base. With the help of the light and to get the right reflection, you do see the odd small chip across the nose, generally kind of below the scoop, right on this front leading edge. I can only see it using the lights as a reflection, and it's been touched up with the proper colors. So you got a little mark on the front edge of the hood and then that front lip of the bumper. The black satin finished plastic along the front lip of the car is in really good shape. Just micro pitting on that front edge. Both headlights are extremely good condition. The acrylic itself, you really don't see much pitting at all, which is surprising, just considering that the odd chip has happened on the front, but the headlights are really good condition. The inside is actually quite clean as well. Not a lot of dust buildup or any contaminants that have gotten inside there. Usually from the heat from the headlights, you'll see some kind of clouding or discoloration in the lenses. That's totally normal and very typical to see. There's a little bit here on the passenger side, but as you'll see in all the photos, and we have lots of close-up photos, very clear and in very good condition. I've got nothing else I really want to point out across the rest of the hood. As you can see in this shot, the black trim around the base of the windshield is in great shape, as are the wipers. No pitting or corrosion showing itself on the wipers. The windshield itself, the glass, it's the original Ferrari glass. It is in very good condition. There's just a couple small little pits in it, but that would be something that I would imagine most people wouldn't even point out to you, and that's probably going to be very hard to find even on camera. So I'm being nitpicky. Across the front fender, extremely good condition. The paint across the entire car is exceptional. Again, I'm just getting really nitpicky here. Just some small pitting on the edges of the gills here. It's going to be really hard to notice unless you get up really close. So you might be able to pick that up in the photos. The edge of the front fender and bumper that surround the wheel are in fantastic condition. The wheels, there's an invoice for years ago. The wheels were refinished, so they're essentially perfect. The center cap is in great condition, as is the rotor and as is the brake caliper. The red is in great condition, and so is the logoing on the caliper. I will say there's no PPF really on the car anywhere, none in the front or the back. Mirror caps, no pitting, extremely good condition. Same with the A-pillar and along the front leading edge of the hood, or the roof, sorry. The window trim, that satin black, so I believe what they do is they anodize it black, then they paint it black. The windshield trim is in very good condition. A couple spots where that the paint finish is eroding slightly. Again, a very typical thing for these cars as they age. Original glass, of course, along the side here. This is a clean Carfax, clean history car. Driver's door, really great. I think the only thing I need to point out along the rocker panel is what you would expect, but right where people's shoes or boots would be, well, hopefully not boots, but shoes are coming in and out. Just a couple scuff marks right in that same spot, but when the door's closed, you don't really pick up on that. Right at the back here, there's just two little chips that have been touched up, so again, hard to see with the naked eye. And I guess, again, I'm being quite picky here. Rear quarter panel, phenomenal, same with the glass. All the way around the back, rear wheel, fantastic condition, tires are new. And then the same goes for the bumper and the trunk lid. All the way around the back here, it is exceptional, and you'll see that through the camera. Nothing at all to point out. The rear window trim, it's the same as the trim all the way around the car. You're gonna find the odd spot, and you really have to be looking for it. It just doesn't really show up because you've got black on top of black. I don't think I need to mention it, but the acrylics in the taillights and all the lighting, they're in phenomenal and very like new condition. Wheels on the passenger side, same thing. Passenger door, phenomenal. Really nothing to point out here. I really see nothing that's been touched up along the driver's door. Passenger's rocker, I don't think anyone really ever sat in the passenger seat of this car. So no scuff marks or anything along the rocker. It looks really great. And the same little micro pitting in the paint on the inside of the impressions of the gills. And then the fender, the lower bumper, everything on this side is as that side. Extremely, extremely good condition. The non-metallic paint of Posy Blue is really impressive and really shows off the lines of this car. I think whether you've picked up on it or not, no shields on this car. That's an option on Ferraris, whether you choose to have a Scuderia shield or not on the either side of the rear of the fenders, as you see on the Roma Spider behind us. I think that's quite nice. It maybe shows the lines and the smooth lines of the car maybe a little bit better, not having those shields on the side. Also being that Posy Blue, I think, is a bit of an understated color, and being that you don't have any other Ferrari logos down the side, you just have the small center caps. It maybe hides the brand a little bit, which some people appreciate. So let's get into the interior, and then we'll get into the trunk, and then under the hood. There's really nothing to show. You know, we're not talking about a 60s car here where I'm going to go through the trunk and show you that it's clean and no rust and all the rest. I'll just show you what is in the trunk and that it's a complete car. The interior is important, so we'll get into that, and then I'll just lift the hood. And I'll just show you some key things to look for when you're looking under the hood of a classic car like this. So let's get into the interior. I'm not going to go into crazy depth here because I don't need to. The photos are going to show you a lot. We'll have a lot of footage here, but essentially, driver's seat, the Daytona driver's seat, it is a full electric seat, is in phenomenal condition, both in the bolster and the seat and the backrest. The door panel, as I mentioned before, we are blue Scuro and black leather, Nero leather. So the door pull and the top of the door is Nero leather, and then blue Scuro is the rest, which ties nicely into the dash. As when the door closes, the dash flows into the door, so the black leather flows into the door, and then flows all the way across, and that nice smooth line that starts around the console and swoops up and around the lower dash and then goes into the door. Looks great. When talking about the interiors of any classic Ferrari, Ferrari used a very tactile, soft, rubberized paint on a lot of their surfaces in their cars, and as time and finger oils did their thing to it, eventually that broke down and became sticky, and which is very known for sticky buttons. So this entire car has had all sticky items removed, refinished, and replaced. And that applies to almost everywhere. So, and that is a key question. Again, this is another one of those things where when you're comparing cars, it's not all apples to apples. Has everything been treated and has all the sticky been done? Yes or no? Luckily for our client, was in the automotive industry and has the skill set to remove those pieces and then sent them off. So if you were to have this done at a Ferrari dealer, we've seen invoices in the $15,000 range. So very, very tidy. The carpets are in extremely good condition. You'll see that. You'll see the foot pad in the floor is in great condition. The pedals, the aluminum pedals, are all in really, really great shape. And the same goes right across the interior. The factory radio is still there. The radio and the system works exactly the way it should, the hi-fi sound. All those buttons across the dash work exactly the way they're supposed to. Same with the climate control and the very cold AC. The condition of the leather across the dash is very good. All the leather is still adhered where it's supposed to be through all the curvature in and around the gauge pods and the vents. The steering wheel, the leather in the steering wheel is nice and smooth. It's obviously been cleaned by us during the detail process, but there's no nicks or frays or anything on the steering wheel. Everything is extremely, extremely tidy in this car, lacking of anything sticky and in exceptional condition. The interior does smell like classic Ferrari in that Connolly leather, exactly the way you would hope and you would expect, because I think that's probably one of the most enjoyable parts. And here we have our binder full of our service records that is with the car as well as the manuals. But the interior, as you'll see through all this video right now, is in exceptional condition. So I popped the trunk and I popped the hood. The shocks and the light all work the way they should in the trunk area. Back here is where you're gonna find the original car cover, seat covers, and wheel covers. The black carpet in the back. When you pull up the lower panel, that is what exposes the tire inflation kit and the tool kit, which are both here and present. You'll see those in all of our photos. And there's nothing else to say. The trunk is extremely tidy, probably hardly ever used, and like new. Hood shocks on the hood work exactly the way they should, as I just lifted the, maybe slightly weak, but they hold up the hood as they should. As you look around and through the hood, all the fittings, casings, hoses, everything is in extremely good condition, very, very good condition. What's important under the hood? Well, other than the amazing condition of the engine, its components and rubbers and hoses, is we'll see here the blue Posey or Posey blue sticker, PPG sticker for the paint code. Also very important, this car is compliant and USA emission compliant. That is a sticker here, so it is EPA compliant in the United States. And then you'll just see some other stuff, the assembly number and the Ferrari in petrol logo. The AC over here, there's a sticker, service record for the air conditioning. Our R134A was used in the air conditioning system. You'll find that on that side. And then I think the only other thing to point out is what is very typical on all 550s is they'll get a little bit of a corrosion underneath the paint, just underneath the hood here. So we'll point that out as well. That is typical to find on almost all of them. It's on the seam, it's on the lower seam on the underside of the hood, so not the top side, but back below the seam. So I hope walking you through the car and specifically some of this video has really helped you in your decision making and educated you on the cars. Hopefully some of the information I give you is helpful. So to wrap up and to give you all the key points on our car here, this is a 2001 model year, so the last year before the last production model year, 2002. So 2001, this was delivered new in Ferrari, Vancouver. At the time it was called Brian Jessel Sports Cars, the franchise dealer for Ferrari, but was sold new in Vancouver, and it stayed there with its original owner for 8 years until 2009. From 2009, it was then resold by the original salesperson through a company that no longer exists in Vancouver, just only recently closed its doors. And it stayed with that owner until 2019, which when we brought it into our collection, and then we delivered it in 2020 to our client that has now had it for almost half a decade. The car is very complete. It comes with a nice thick documentation binder. This has every service record from day one to where it is today, every single one, documenting every single mile. That comes complete with the car. It does have its original books, it has its original keys and key fobs. It does have its original car cover and seat covers and so on and so forth. Original tire inflation kit, original tool kit, all complete with the car in their original proper packaging. Finished in Posey blue, as I was talking about earlier. They built about 3,100 of these cars. Maybe 10% of them were in blue, and that would be across 3 or 4 different colors of blue. So Posey blue would be an extremely low production number car. Why is that important? Color is important. The rarity of the color and the rarity of the car brings into color, thus giving a higher value to the car, especially when we're talking about, this is about 14,000 miles. It's a 22,400 kilometer car, original mileage from new. We just did a big, huge service on it. We serviced it, did all new tires. Everything's been done, sticky buttons done, timing belt, major service, everything, AC, everything's been serviced, everything's been done. We spent about $50,000 on it to make sure the car was perfect and was as well represented mechanically as it is on its exterior and its interior. So to wrap it up, beautiful car, exquisite color, and almost in the second to last model year before ceasing production. They built 3,100, so maybe 300 of them were blue, and this one is finished in Posey Blue. I'm Joel Friesen. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We are Silver Arrow Cars. You can find us on Instagram or the internet, or wherever you want to get in touch. Thank you.